Right now, like my heart is like with the people of Iran. I mean, I think we talked about something similar in the last conversation when we were talking about international law and how somewhat useless international law has become. Because tell me why, because of one single man, over, according to some reports, 2,000 to 12,000 people have been killed in a matter of virtually 2 weeks. Over 2,000 to 12,000 people have lost their lives because of one single man trying to hold on to power and his regime.
But
I
I
mean,
don't.
and then what is international law saying? International law is saying, you shouldn't meddle in their internal affairs. What kind of internal affair is that? Like an internal affair where 2,000 to 12,000 people are losing their life, and you're saying it's an internal affair, of course. I mean, so there has to be a system or a means by which interventions can be made. And if that does not exist in international law, then a lot of people are going to like inevitably get fed up with international law and take law into their own hands. And understandably so. So I mean, even the left that I expected, or like the establishment media that I expected to be bashing Trump, many of them are passively supporting like a sort of US intervention, like saying, okay, what does it take for the US to intervene? Because I mean, it doesn't make sense anymore. Like they shut down the internet, they turned off the lights, and they're just systematically killing people in that place. Like it's sick. It's sick, bro. Something has to be done.
But is that number up to 12,000? 12,000 is a
It
lot.
is now. Have you not like been reading the news? Check the news out
I,
now.
like probably like on Sunday I saw something like 500 people, and today I'm seeing
I'm
12,000.
s-
Like,
I'm seeing. So okay, when did they shut down the internet? They started shutting down the internet around that Saturday Sunday time, and then they
yes.
started doing like a imposing like a blackout, right? So they shut down the electricity, then they shut down the internet. So when they did those two things, that was like a way of them to conceal any sort of atrocity that they wanted to commit. So now that the internet has been shut off and the electricity has been cut off and pretty much is like an isolated area now, now they now have the opportunity to carry out as much atrocities as they want to commit and then bury them so that nobody would be able to bring up evidences and all of that. So that's why there's a high probability or chance for the death rate to skyrocket within those period of time compared to how it was previously.
But like it's like jump from 500 to 12,000 within 2 days to me is too much now. Are you sure it's not being exaggerated? Like if you say 2,000, I can believe you, but 12,000, that's like killing like
So
5,000 people a day. Come on,
so
that's
according to a lot of the human rights agencies, many of them are posting in between 7,000 to 12,000. So me, I even decided to take like the ultra conservative figure, which was like 2,000, which according to like like a CNN report as at this night, they said that the figure is about 1,850 people, pretty much like let's say plus or minus 2,000 people that have been slaughtered. So that's like even if it was, let's even go to the barest, at least the ultra conservative figure, which is 2,000 people. Bro, 2,000 people have been killed within 2 weeks for protesting. I mean, yeah,
that's
you can see that okay, there's been a lot of violence and destruction of government buildings and all of that, but still, like 2,000 people just lost their lives on top, all because of one single man trying to hold on to his regime. So I mean, it's an atrocity,
that's
and
still.
this is where I draw the line when it comes to international law, because if international law does not solve problems like this, then ultimately people are going to have to create better laws.
And that's still a terrible number. Like even if it's 2,000, to be honest, like that's still a terrible number. You know what it means to kill 2,000 people, and we are not talking like a like maybe it's a war or a city
Mm-hmm.
riot or a natural disaster. They are talking
Mm-hmm.
actively shooting at people. Even
Yeah.
2,000 is a lot. Talk
I mean,
more.
there are
Talk
reports of
more.
them going into hospitals, looking for people that maybe were wounded during the protest, and then shooting them to death.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
I know
like,
I know the like at the end of the previous protest in 2022, I know that after the whole protest had sort of died down, the regime like silently started picking up people, and
yeah,
many they didn't hear from many of these people and they were executed. So
yeah. I mean,
is
the foreign minister even came out to say that they are going to expedite, trials for people that were, arrested during the protest. Pretty much saying that they are going to charge those people with protest against God. Like Iran is a theocracy, so they have a law whereby they can charge you to court for protesting against, God, or some sort of principle of God, right? And then the punishment for that obviously is execution, is death sentence. So the guy came out and he said they're going to start expediting, those kind of judgments for those people, right? And they're going to start seeing more and more executions based on that. So, like, as in, when you see that kind of thing happening, it just makes you feel like something is fundamentally wrong with the way the international law has been set up. Like, this kind of thing cannot be happening, and then you're speaking about maintaining uh, sovereignty in quote or internal affairs. Like, as in, to me, it just doesn't add up. I wish Opa was here so at least he can finally like understand the reality of these things. And I know it's something you've been advocating for as well. If I When you keep saying like, oh, in Nigeria we should just have like 1 million people just go and protest in Aso Rock and all of that, that they can't kill all of us. Like, I'm just trying to show you that the way the divide now between how equipped the military is as compared to citizens is no longer like before. Now you have like guns like automatic rifles that can kill or that can shoot at a speed of like 100 per second. So there's no way any citizen or something is going to match up to that kind of force. Like, at the end of the day, man, interventionist is the way to go. There has to be a policy in international law or a clause in international law that allows for interventions of other countries in internal affairs of other countries. If not, this kind of thing will keep on happening. And I don't think you
no,
can protest your way out of a terrible government that wants to remain in power. Sometimes some governments may be terrible, but maybe they still have their own line that they draw, that, no, this is too much, I won't go past this. While some, they don't really give a damn, like this Ayatollah guy, he doesn't give a damn. To A lot of his followers see him as like a mouthpiece of God himself, you understand? So whatever thing he does, they see it as, the will of Allah being done on earth. So I mean, like, at this point in time, like, I think it's a glaring proof of how there is a need for an interventionist clause whenever it comes to international law. These kind of things cannot keep on happening.
the issue with intervention is on whose terms are you intervening, and do those people want you to intervene? What exactly um is the mindset of the average Iranian on intervening in his country? You can't say you want to save him and you're coming from outside and probably he didn't call on you to save him. So another thing I'll say is if you intervene in such country, what exactly is your plan? What do you want to do? Do you plan on imposing somebody on those people? Or if you remove a figure like the Ayatollah and there's such a power vacuum, what exactly do you want to do? And how are you sure that if you do something like that, those countries will not see you as imposing your own will on them? Like as I've said, for the most part, I don't think the average Iranian is a fan of America or or its allies. It doesn't mean that because you don't like America, then automatically you love your dictatorship or you love the Ayatollah. It's just, I think you can dislike both of them or you can have indifference towards both of them. There are people there protesting just for economic reasons. There are people there protesting that they need a change, like a democratic government. There are people there protesting that they want the son of the Shah to return and slowly transition them. Like, so people are protesting for different things. So what exactly would now be your purpose when you want to intervene? Because for the most part, most countries that will intervene in their own interest first before the citizens of the country that they are claiming to intervene for. So those are always my issues with intervention. And what is the ratio of how it works compared to how it doesn't work? And when you intervene, what will happen? What if they put up an army? Like the for example, somewhere like Iran now, the IRGC is very, very, very loyal to the Ayatollah. It might not be like the lower people in the military, but the higher ranked people in the military, they are loyal to the Ayatollah. So if they mobilize enough, in a country of 90 million people, if they mobilize enough people in the army, and yes, you can say Iran is not as strong compared to the USA or something, but in the Middle East, they might be like top three, top four armies in in the Middle East. So if they mobilize and all of that, when you go in, it looks more like an invasion because, for example, why Venezuela looks more like an operation and not like an invasion is because it lasted for like just a few hours. In the case of Iran, it's going to last for weeks. It's going to last for weeks, even if you are as fast as possible, maybe
I think
like days. And that's enough time to declare it like an intervention or you are declaring war on them. So I just don't see the point for me, at least for now.
my point is for the first point you raised about where do you draw the line, mm, which country gets to invade or how they get to invade or why they get to invade. So what I'll say is that that is where like international deliberation comes in, right? So there has to be policies that are drafted by international organizations like the UN, like NATO, even like ECOWAS and the likes, where you talk about these things fundamentally. But I even believe more in regional intervention, like a group of regional countries, intervening for a fellow country in the region, right? So I believe more in that than even like international or global intervention. So, so yeah, those organizations, those international organizations need to come up with the draft that clearly defines where those kind of things will happen. Like for example, now where you're seeing the government turning its guns against its own people, like we are seeing in Iran, at this kind of high scale, obviously there should be a threshold where international law says that okay, yes, this calls for an intervention, and then international forces can go in and quell the situation on ground, right? So that's why I'm saying like it has to be a formalized structure, otherwise it will happen informally anyway. Like you are saying with the US now, people are like calling on the US to intervene in Iran, and everybody's waiting for Trump to finally get things rolling and all of that. Even though that may be against international law, but a lot of people will still lean towards that kind of outcome, right? Rather than sitting down and just waiting for them to get pummeled by the guns and the bombs and all of those kind of things. So I mean that's just the reality on the ground. Let the international law factor in these incidences of autocrats weaponizing, you know, the military against the citizens, and factor it into how you call for those policies. Like I used to say, at least for ECOWAS, when it comes to electoral autocracies, there are things we can do. We can say that, oh, if you are going to be a member of ECOWAS or a member of African Union or something like that, then you are going to have a constitution that sets term limits, right? There should be term limits, like you suggested, like a maximum of a 5 year tenure, you know, with two terms. You understand? So something like that. If you break it, then automatically you've given a license for intervention to happen, whether or not you do it directly or indirectly. It's giving a license for intervention to happen in your country, and you'll be held liable for that. So, like, as in, we just have to come to a point where the laws are based on reality and not just, you know, theoretical ideals, right? And yeah, but the second point about Iranians not really liking American intervention and all of that. Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, the bulk of the people that participated in this protest, they will definitely welcome some sort of like American intervention, because these people are getting slaughtered. You have to face the fact. Like when you are seeing that 2,000 people have been killed within 2 weeks, it's a clear sign that they are getting slaughtered. So I mean, if it takes the US coming in to save their lives and to stop them from getting executed, as the foreign minister has threatened to do, then by all means, I believe they will welcome it, especially, and even their family members as well, right? It's a do or die affair at this point in time. It's no longer like something that you just, you know, that you can argue or postulate about from a point of convenience. Now it's a do or die affair. Like, even if you don't get killed in the protest, after the protest, there's a high likelihood that you're going to get arrested and charged, and they're going to expedite any sort of execution that they want to carry out on those people. So it's between a rock and a hard place for them, and I think they will choose the rock of the United States over the hard place of the Iranian regime any day, anytime, actually. So yeah, that's just it. Like everything has to be grounded on reality at this point in time.
Well, I don't know, but maybe the reality is different from my own thought of reality because you've spoken a lot. Okay, for example, now you even say this regional something now. Iran is probably the third or fourth and most powerful army in the Middle East and is the largest because of their population. So if you say you want to checkmate something like this, how do you make such changes in Iran? If, for example, someone like Abacha became a dictator, like how do other ECOWAS countries want to make any change in Nigeria that is even like leading light? So same thing if it happens in somewhere like Europe, how do you make such changes in a country like UK or France? Same
Yeah,
way.
that's why I said.
So
That's why I said that.
and
Okay, don't worry, you can finish your point.
yeah, and who is going to agree to such treaties? Like some people, their own definition of democracy is changing. Putin will call himself now a Democrat because he organizes elections like year in year out, but he's a dictator for life, obviously. So, but somebody like that, how do you want to say you want to intervene? Obviously, because it's Russia and Putin, you might see it as a special case. But there will be people like that that want to, manipulate things and all of that. I just feel like it's not as easy as you say it. It's not as easy as you say it. Some things are just very difficult, honestly. Like there are some situations that there is no easy way out because I'm sure most of the Iranian soldiers shooting these people don't want to do it, but they're under orders. So it's just it's just a sad situation, honestly.
Yeah, so as in regarding the question of when a bigger country participates in that kind of thing, how exactly can the other regional countries, intervene? So I'll say that this thing has to be in layers, right? So like for example, ECOWAS, the bulk of the members of ECOWAS, they are also members of the United Nations, right? So if it is a situation whereby the ECOWAS military capacity cannot handle that sort of interventionist policy to quell the situation, then ECOWAS as a body can approach the United Nations, and the individual countries that make up the ECOWAS can approach the United Nations as like a bloc, and advocate for that sort of like intervention. I mean, like obviously you have to go to the United Nations Security Council or something like that. But you can always keep on moving to like a higher level, even if it's not the United Nations. You can move to the African Union and advocate as a bloc for that intervention. So that sort of thing, I mean, it has to be done ultimately, like because you can't continue with this kind of policy where everybody's saying, "Oh, internal affairs," and people are getting slaughtered. We saw the same thing happen in Tanzania, just that people don't really care much about African lives anyway. Because in Tanzania, over 1,000 people lost their lives trying to protest against, the government that was pretty much constituting an electoral autocracy there. And we are seeing the same thing happen in Iran. It has happened in Nigeria as well. We all witnessed NSAS, saw how violence was used to quell peaceful protests, basically. I mean, so like, ultimately, like, there has to be an interventionist policy, and I feel if everybody puts their minds to it, ultimately they can come up with like great policies, right, that are implementable as well, even in those diverse situations. So that's just it for me. Sure. I think I just wanted to talk about it with you, particularly get the update or share the update as it pertains to the whole Trump and Iran situation. I don't know if you have any other thing to add to it.
Oh, nothing much, nothing much. I'll just say that um, Trump, Trump, whether you really care about the Iranian people or not, don't give it attention. Allow every other person who hides under the name of Western propaganda to see this regime for what it is. You understand? The Western countries like the US, Israel, and their allies, and all of that, they have their own issues. Everybody doesn't like how they try to control and bully everybody into whatever they want. But that doesn't make some of those countries or their leadership good people. That Iran is criticizing the US for something wrong USD doesn't make Iranian leadership good. And whenever he's talking, he takes away the attention from of the plight of those people and he puts it on him. And then people now start asking, "Oh, what do you think about what Trump said?" Instead of like you need this like we need these atrocities to be shown like there is no hiding place. Not just that there is no hiding place, there is no cover. Let this be because at the beginning of the protest, even the Iranian president was like, "This is not this is not because of the US or
Mm,
Israel or other people." But as soon as he started talking, I mean, it just gave all those other people a way out, and they're like, "Oh, those protesters are US sponsored and all of that." Sometimes allow these things play out. Don't interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Like, let people know that look, these people are evil, and not try to run under the Western propaganda cover all the time. Like, oh, don't you see how
but
Trump?
I think the reason why. I think the reason why he voiced out and said that, oh, he supports the protests and the protesters and they should not attack them, is because he wanted to fan the flames in a way. You know, like a lot of people were skeptical about going to the protests because they just felt like, okay, it's going to end up with crackdowns and nothing will happen again. Nobody will come to their rescue or stuff like that. So I think to an extent, he was trying to fan the flames by telling them that go out, the US is going to intervene if there is violence against protesters and all of that. It's just a way to fan the flames. That's why I view it from him.
Well, if you are fanning the flame, you don't fan the flame in the direction that if it catches fire, it's going to light it's going to light the how like it's going to burn both. It's going to catch fire and burn trees or burn your curtain down too. Just sometimes it's not every attention that is needed. Let people focus on this thing because they will try to find a getaway for this thing like, oh, it's Israel that is sponsoring me, it's US. But when you keep quiet and there is no excuse, like almost everybody is now going to be like, man, these people are evil. But you just invaded Venezuela in that context, and then you are now talking about you coming in Iran. People just see that, oh, they like they can even start putting things like, oh, you're the one that is even sponsoring this, or you're creating grounds for an invasion, just like Venezuela. But if you allow it play out, if you allow it, because nobody can liberate nobody can liberate a country outside of its people. Fine, intervention can help or do some things, but eventually it's the people of that country that will take their destiny in their hands. So if you want to now, take the, I don't know, take up the airspace or something like that, I just feel it's unfair to these people that are out on the streets being beaten. I just don't see the point. I just feel if you want to intervene, let it already, assuming Trump did not talk and we are in this second week now, we are seeing this amount of killings, and now he talks, it will be a much more sensible time to talk than what he did earlier. He has spoken like 3 times about it already. To me, I don't see the point, honestly.
Hmm? I get your point, sure. I get your point. So, but I get your point. But I feel like it was always going to be a difficult decision. The whole point of speaking, I guess, was to make more people feel comfortable in coming out and putting their lives on the line, basically, right? And you can also get your point, and I understand the argument of rather than making it look like it was a US backed protest, you should stay out of it until it's time to intervene or until it's time to get involved and all of that. So yeah, I understand the point. So I guess at the end of the day he made his decision and let's just see how it works out for him and for the people of Iran basically. We just need to do something about the whole non-interventionist policy that is currently like mainstream. I don't think it's sustainable in the long run. And I think it's, if anything, it's the greatest threat to democracy. Not interventionist, but the non-intervention. When you have democracies slipping into autocracies, and people are just using like democracies or democratic systems as like a mirage of actual autocracy. Like they found a way to hide autocracies inside the democracy. You see now with Putin, with Xi Jinping, with even in Iran, they hold elections in Iran and the presidents change hands, right? And it gives that illusion of a democracy. Everybody choosing their candidates, but in reality, it's just
Everybody
It's just
knows who
a good
power.
old electoral theocracy, autocracy, a bit autocracy.
You
Yeah, so it's just good old. Yeah.
Iran is ruled by three, like a three school, like three people majorly, like the Ayatollah, the IRGC, and the
Yeah.
politician. But the
The
politician is like
IRGC is pretty much
loyal to
IRGC is pretty much like the
yeah, they are
military
like
arm of the Ayatollah now.
yes. But because they have the weaponry, they can at least, like say, they have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
effective. Yeah, so
They're still a main stakeholder. I get.
yeah. But the
So, but what,
politicians
what I also say, yeah,
are
go
more
ahead.
like on yeah, they are more like on the side just to keep the face looking okay.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, what I also say is that I don't think a lot of people say, oh, when you remove the regime, what are you going to replace it with? I mean, they've already given a lot of outlines. The prince of the former Shah of Iran, that's Pahlavi. He has already indicated interest in taking over to form like a interim committee or a transitional government, basically before the next elections hold, and the people can freely choose their choice, not a choice that has been handpicked by the Ayatollah, and then they just do the drama to to show the rest and all of that. But this one is actually the people's choice, right? So there's already a plan for that in place. There's someone who will to take up power and stabilize the country pending when elections hold, and things can get back to normal, like the perfect normal. And then also when people say that things like, oh, regime change tends to fail, it doesn't always work, it could fall off. They start citing Gaddafi and all of the likes. But they fail to realize that the same way we are talking about regime change now, that was how the current Islamic regime came into power. Like the Ayatollah, it was through regime change now. They changed the Shah of Iran, of Persia actually. And then that was how he was able to come in. He was living in exile in France. And after the Islamic Revolution was completed, he was able to board a plane from France all the way to Iran. That was how he was even able to get into power in the first place. So it was regime change that brought in this Ayatollah system, and it will be regime change most likely than not that would end that Ayatollah system. And so there's precedent for it being successful in the past. I don't see any reason why it to fail now. I mean, the US have even proven just how excellent the military might is with what we saw in Venezuela. So I mean, what the kind of operation you saw happen in Venezuela is a kind of operation that likely not have happened like 20, 30 years ago because of just how sophisticated everything had to be. Right? I mean, you had reports from some soldiers saying that the kind of technology they used was such that if they were immobilized pretty much, they couldn't even hear. They were bleeding through their nose. I think they said they used one sort of like sonic boom system or something. But if you check the reports, you see those things. So I mean, the capacity to do those things right now is more than ever in the hands of the US, and I think it's just more about believing that it can be done and taking that action, that course of action, because I feel that's like the only way this regime will actually end up falling. And this is the best time to hit them because this is their weakest point. They are much more destabilized than they've ever been. So this is the best time for the US to take action, and I hope they do that.
Is easier said than done. Look, yeah, there are many angles to this too. Iran
It's not easy. Okay.
is a much larger country than Venezuela. I mean, Iran has over 90 million people, bro, with differing opinions. I'm telling you, there are people that probably they are just protesting so that the economy can be better, but maybe they are still fans of the Ayatollah, or they are still loyal to him, but maybe at this moment in time, all they just want is a better economy. Because That's how the protest started initially. Also, like if you remove somebody as big as the Ayatollah, there are a lot of religious fanatics in Iran that are okay with that theocratic government. How would they act? And then for the prince, the son of the former, yeah, you have to know that how will an average Iranian see this? Ah, this boy don't want sleep. Sleep
I'm
is
hearing
coming.
you. I'm not sleeping.
How will an average Iranian perceive it? Because the Shah too came into a regime change. The person that was supposed to be there was Mossadegh. But in the 50s, basically there was this whole, not even the 50s, post post World War II to the end of the Soviet Union. There was this whole fight between communism and socialism, and socialism, communism, and democratic capitalism. They were at loggerheads, so there were a lot of regime changes or sponsored changes in different countries, depending on who whoever they were backing. And the Shah was imposed on those people. And yes, he was a a liberalizing leader, sort of a gradual reformer. But at the same time, he was a dictator. Let's not make mistakes about it. The Shah was also a dictator. He put a lot of critics
Mm-hmm.
in jail and all of that. So his son coming to take over, it's not like the Shah was so popular. It's because he was unpopular. That is why the Ayatollah could come in. So his son pitching the days of his dad back to those people. It's not like this. We call it so fondly. They understand. It's
Yeah,
just that
but
it,
he's not coming in as a permanent leader or as a even contesting the election. He's coming in as a transitional leader till they're able to hold the elections. He said he doesn't have any ambition for like long-term leadership position. He just wants to serve as a transitional leader because when you get rid of the regime, at the end of the day, they are going to need someone to at least hold down the fort and stabilize the country. And there are very few people in Iran currently that can play that role. And it's looking more and more likely that it's likely the Shah that can play the role. So yeah, he didn't really say he's coming in to take over power and maintain the his father's regime that was thwarted. Simply saying he's coming in to hold a transitional government, pending when a much more stable democracy can or democratic elections can be held, and democratic leaders as well elected. You get.
yeah,
So yeah, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I get you. I get you. I get you. The only thing I'll say is for a long time, Iranians have not experienced anything close to a democracy for the best part of how many years. So it might even be difficult to believe someone like that when it's telling you. I just want to use it as an avenue to gain power. And people in Iran perceive him as a US puppet. You understand? They might not like
Mm,
the Ayatollah, but when they perceive you as a US puppet, they don't see you as somebody that is doing the will of the Iranian people. They will see
mm,
you as someone that you want to come into power and do the will of America. You place their interests
mm.
first before your own people. So I think that's why a lot of people might not trust him. And the president of his father, fine, the stuff, the transition talk is good. And also many Iranians are actually quite educated, and they want some of these things. They want this democratic rule. They are not fan of theocracies anymore. They see what's going on in the world and they want it. But at the same time, regime crippled the opposition so much that there's nobody living in Iran strong enough to be trusted that okay, he can handle
Yeah.
any leadership outside of the Ayatollah. And then the Shah's son has been away for 49 years, almost 50 years, it's okay, 47 years. But that's still almost 50 years. The Iran you were in as a small boy or that your father was in charge is a very different Iran from what you're going to come into. So I just feel like it's not an easy process, but we'll see how it goes. That's why I don't like dictatorships. They make it hard, even when they are out. They make it so they set the system so hard that nothing will exist beyond them. It's so painful. It's so painful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's just see how it goes then. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. May I support Reja Pahlavi coming in forming a transitional government pending when elections hold. But then you're right. Yes, a lot of things could go wrong. So let's just see how it goes and let's hope that everything ultimately, takes the path that will be best for the people of Iran and for the world in general. So yeah, thanks Ifeanyi for joining in today. Today was going to be a short live. It was just more about talking about the pressing issue of the moment, which is like the Iran protest and the crackdown by it. And I just wanted it to be short and just to get down to the basics, and we've done that. So yeah, thanks for joining in. Thanks for sharing your perspective. Is there any other thing you want to add before we sign off?
Nothing really, but the only thing I'll just say, Talker boys, Talker calcium boys, your fake anti-war stance does not hide who you are. You people are racist and anti-Semite, and
Yeah,
you are just people that pick and choose your moral. You don't have any ground you stand on. You're fake.
yeah.
So that's just what it
I
is.
would have loved it if you can say that in the comment section of that video anyway. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, those guys are. I mean, like, they're just out of touch. Like I don't know, it just feels like more and more they're out of touch. Like people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, even. Like they just sound so superficial. Like I mean, see what Dave Smith was saying about the Iran protest. He's saying, "Oh, the US and Israel have done everything that's led up to this inevitable protest and all of that, blah blah blah." And he was even commending the regime for showing restraint after the 12-day war. And all that. I'm just like, guy, like you don't even like you've dived so deep inside your political bubble that you've lost touch. You've lost touch with reality, unfortunately.
I don't think they've
So I
lost.
mean, it's just sad.
I don't think they've lost touch with reality. It's just that they've driven so far to a particular point where they can't come out of it again. Like, and they can't come out because it will look like maybe they are contradicting themselves or something.
Yeah,
That's why it's always good to remain rational. They've gone towards the whole like anti-Israel, anti-American,
mm,
anti-war stance so
yeah,
far into it that they can now rationalize or reason when you say, look, these people are evil.
yeah,
US intervention or not, the Iranian regime is an evil regime that should not stand. It's just what it is. I don't think it's hard to say it. How will you be so anti-American that you are praising Venezuela for God's sake? Come on, bro. Like,
yeah. I mean, he was even praising Sharia. Tucker
how
Carlson
now?
was praising Sharia in Saudi Arabia. That the
How?
streets were clean, there were no homeless people, and they're living under Sharia. That he didn't see how bad the Sharia was anyway. And it's just so
What's now? He's going
when
there
you
as
see those kind of things, you're just disingenuous.
of course. He's going there as an American guest, given a private plane and treated
I
to
mean,
red carpet. And after he finished his talk and speech, he flies back to his home in the US. He's not going to
mm-hmm.
stay there for 3 years and walk
Yeah.
on the street, and the morality police will tell him that you can't move at this hour, we can't see you
Mm-hmm.
this evening. Of course, he's not going to do that. He's going to live there as a special guest and then try to talk down on everyone.
That's why I say these people they've lost touch with reality. Like they are so superficial now that like it's just the dissonance is just glaring. Like you're not functioning from the actual reality of people on the ground. You're just like a commentator that is living in a $1 million house that like you're just doing it for fun at this point in time. You're doing it for personal vendetta,
I don't believe
personal heritage or whatever.
I don't believe they are doing it for
It's no
fun.
longer real to you. Like there's no reality involved. It's just more of like a you pushing that vendetta. That's just it.
Yeah, I don't.
Because
Yeah, I don't.
there's no way you be grounded in reality and you be like, oh, the Sharia is not that bad anyway. I mean, they have clean roads and there's no homeless people. Like really.
They know these things. I'm telling you, they know these things. It's just because they've already gone so far into it that they don't know how they can come out of it without maybe looking stupid to their audience or looking like, oh, you're a grifter. It's one thing to
Mm,
for people to call you those things outside people. But once your core audience that you've ideologically brainwashed start
mm,
telling you those things, and is as if you're done for. So they have to keep appealing to those people. So that's why they really can't change. And then wherever they are making their money from or whoever is paying them to, yeah, dancing to the piper. So I mean, just there's no way you can say you are promoting democracy, free speech, all those your terms like, oh, everybody is free to say what they want, blah blah
mm,
blah, and you are supporting oppressive regimes like Venezuela. You you
mm.
whenever you are talking about Putin, you give him soft landing, and then you are praising like the Saudi regime. Come on, all these are repressive regimes now, but they are for free speech and democracy. Come on, you're a grifter and a hypocrite is your fans, man. Your anti-war is fake. That's the
Yeah.
truth.
Anyway, so let's see how it goes with them, sure. But yeah, it's been an interesting conversation. I certainly had fun, even though, as you may be able to tell, there were a couple of battles with sleep, but we triumphed nonetheless. But yeah, thanks, man. It was a good conversation, and I'm sure it will make for a great conversation as well on YouTube. Hopefully, we don't get bashed once again by Tucker and his crew when we post
You too.
this. So yeah, but yeah, thanks, man. Have a good
Yeah,
night rest.
yeah, you too.